Welcome to the Parenting on the Spectrum show with board-certified behavior analyst and infant-toddler development specialist, Theresa Alexander-Inman. Parenting on the Spectrum dives into real stories, challenges, and triumphs, offering invaluable insights and support for families on your unique journey. Let's get into the episode.
Hey, welcome. Today I'm so excited to have with us Dr. Aditya Nagrath. He is the founder of Elephant Learning and the author of Treating Mathematics Anxiety. Welcome, Dr. Nagrath.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks. Wondering where you were when I was in school. Well, I don't know. You might not have been born yet, but because math was never my thing. I saw on your website an alarming statistic that 80% of students entering kindergarten are unable to understand math, like that the teacher teaches them.
Yeah, what it is that 4 out of 5 students start kindergarten unprepared for the kindergarten curriculum. And when you dive into what that means, that boils down to a language gap, because that's what they're learning at this age. And when it comes to mathematics, that's basically the quantities. And the gap is basically like this idea of the student is able to say 1, 2, 3 to 10 out loud. And really what kindergarten means by counting to 10 is, can you slide over 10 things and stop on 10? And the difference boils down to, in one case, they could just be saying the thing out loud. I mean, 4-year-olds just repeat what they hear, and that doesn't have to be understanding. And they're learning something in doing that, but that's not understanding. You know what I mean? And so, honestly, what the statistics show is that on average, students are 2 years behind their funded peers in low-income neighborhoods. So it's like this happens completely along income lines, and it boils down to 2 charts. The second chart, if you look at it, it's by income, and it's over time. Where's my camera? Here we go. It's over time. I got a chart here with 4 basically flat lines, with the top 2 kind of trending up. So it's completely along income lines. This data is how they found it. And so what it's showing is, number one, if the student entered kindergarten able to understand the teacher, then our education system works. Okay. But then number 2, this challenge is that you have these 3rd graders who are on average 2 years behind, and they're learning multiplication, but they don't have a strong grasp on addition. So this is an impossible goal for both the teacher and the student in the classroom. And so we decided to do something about this.
Wow. Awesome. Because I know math doesn't stay as math. It affects so many other areas, right? And I read that students who start behind stay behind. So it's really vital that something is done early on. And I'm guessing from the statistics, before kindergarten. So that would mean the parents would have to, we would empower them with some strategies with
the language that we're speaking about is the kind of stuff that the 2-income household is not prepared. For example, sometimes I've told this to people, and they said, well, my mom used to take me to the grocery store, and she used to say, well, get me 5 bananas. Now get me 4 more bananas. You're exhibiting the idea of addition. You're practicing while you're doing this. Mm-hmm. And these are the underlying concepts behind what's happening on the board in the classroom. And so our system exists. This is what I tell people. Our system exists to make sure that you've had that experience before you encounter it in the classroom. Because then when you're talking about it abstractly and you write down 5 plus 4, you have some sort of concrete representation of what did this mean? And that is the greatest travesty. I don't believe that people cannot do this stuff. I just believe, and this is what the book's about. I mean, I got a mathematical, philosophical proof that it boils down to what I'm about to say. I'm saying I believe it. I know it to be true. I believe that at some point it boils down to this idea, this belief system in the student of I can do this or I can't do this. And at some point they stop listening to the evidence of I can. That's the ego forming. I just only listen to the evidence that I can't, and then I formulate my belief system about myself around that. And it comes back to like these major ideas of I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not wanted. I mean, this is humans.
Yes, yes. And so what would you do? So as a parent, I know you're a parent. How did you start your children off? Like, what was the first thing that you did to introduce them to this concept, to give them that, step ahead?
Yeah, well, I mean, I designed this system. I did this in 2016 with another professor of mathematics. And right then, my first child was just being born. So I was quite lucky in the fact that we designed out the curriculum through algebra before he even started. And basically, we focus on the essential topics. So I started out, Elliot, in my system maybe 2 or 3 months before he turned 4, and then I don't have the luxury that the customers have of paying, so like I don't have the money pressure to keep him focused per se. So like he was just fiddling around for the first 3 months. He didn't even use it for 3 months, but around the time he turned 4, he started actually engaging with the system. And at that point, yeah, like he kind of took off. On average, children in our system learn about 1.5 years of math over the course of 10 weeks when they use it 30 minutes per week. But from the math anxiety standpoint, I think we had already started to formulate the strategies. I don't think we wrote the book at that point. But it boils down to telling the student out loud, I believe you can do this. And committing to the student, I believe you can do this. And it's had a weird backfire, at least in my situation, which is that child number 1 does not come and ask me for help. Child number 2 is doing it. So but we haven't put him in the system yet. He just turned 4, but I don't know. Like he's got other challenges that cause him not to focus. Just throw a tantrum over anything still. So anyway, that was a long answer. I'll just stop.
Got it. And do you want to introduce us to your system a little bit? Maybe some strategies that parents can use from your system to help their children?
Sure. So like, I mean the nice thing is that the system does it brings together what researchers already know to be effective at teaching mathematics as a language. Though when you look at it, this is not anything that's like going to be mind-blowing or revolutionary. Like you're not like, I mean, most parents are going to look at it and say, well, I mean, I could have done that. Like it's fine, you could, but we've combined those things with these advanced algorithms that quickly determine what does your student understand and not understand. And within 30 minutes, we determine their level of understanding. We start feeding you that information. This is what they're working on. This is how you can take it outside of the system if you want to have the same discussions on language around this with the student, because that way they see it also in the real world. And I think that like the most amazing part about this stuff is that we get feedback that sounds like, like my child is actually discussing this stuff at the dinner table, which that's cool, right? And I think that like from that standpoint, it's hard to find an encyclopedia like ours where like this stuff could be fed to you. But like at the very basic level, it boils down to this idea of can you define it for the student? Can you get them to recognize this thing happening? The student, I mean, can they recognize the word at play? And then can they then use or produce understanding of the word? And when that comes to mathematics, that boils down to like, are they able to use the idea to solve the problem? And so like for counting, I mean, this is if you get this to your 3 or 4 year old, they come in prepared, right? Now you don't have the problem, theoretically speaking.
Mhm.
So, like when it comes down to counting, this is like, okay, you show them the quantities, right? This is 4. You're telling them this is 4. You're showing them on your finger, it's 4, right? So you're getting them that connection. And then from there, can they recognize it? That's how many. That's the how many fingers am I holding up? How many cards do I have? How many, right? So how many Cheerios? And then after that, it's can you give me 4 Cheerios? And they slide over and stop on 4. And it's best to let them go as long as they can, just so you can see how far they can count. And I mean, again, this is exactly what our system does for you. If they get it wrong, you just slide them back and say, you gave me 14, but I asked for 4, and have them start again. And like, you can do this, or you can have our system do this, or both. And we do that from counting all the way through algebra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've really simplified the system of learning.
I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in there. There's 65 different subjects. It boils down to some over 100,000 different experiences when you multiply by the number of characters, because they could choose different characters.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, honestly, I think we're the only people treating algebra right now the way we're treating it, which is the introduction to the language of written mathematics, because that's actually what algebra is. Everything that comes before it is definition. It's really like very, like there's a concrete thing happening behind it. But when you get into algebra, you start to introduce variables and functions and different tools around it, like graphing. So like this study is very abstract, and it starts to become like, well, why, where? So like if you didn't have the stuff that came before it, you have a problem, right? So like if you see 7 times x, but you didn't really understand what multiplication was, if you just memorized the multiplication tables, you said, well, now what? You threw a letter in there, and like, so like, but I mean, the problem is any book you want to read on physics or chemistry or biology or whatever, right? Like statistics, business. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a variable in there. It might not be X. Maybe it's name. Maybe it's revenue. Maybe so. Like, I know you can do it because you end up doing it at some point. The question is, did you do it and understand it in algebra class? Because then you actually got very useful tools for understanding these different situations. In fact, right? That's the amazing thing about it. As I continue to go on, is that people say, well, when do you use math in business? All the time.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't think I'd ever need it later on, but I realize I do. So totally get that. Now, the students who are behind, what are some strategies that parents can implement to help them? Because I know it's difficult with schools having so many students in a classroom. So, are there some tools that parents can easily put in place, use to help their children?
Yeah, I mean, what we recommend people do is 2 things, and again, our system was designed to do this. Um, is one, you have to say to the student, I believe you can do this. First, believe. I mean, if you want to make it 3 steps, first believe it.
Yeah.
The second step then is to say that. And again, the reason why the second step is to say that is because when you say that, you're making a commitment to the student. I'm going to be there until you do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the student, as long as they're with you, is making an implicit commitment back that is, I'm going to try to do it as long as I'm with you. And so the third step is to meet them at their level of understanding. And the reason why this is so important is because if you come in and you're kind of blowing them out of the water, they're going to stop believing that they can do it, right? They're going to use that as evidence as I can do it. I can't do it. So like the good news is that like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information coming back to the parent, especially this time of year, right? The student goes in, they start to take those initial assessments, and they start to get an understanding of, are they at least prepared for this grade level, So like you kind of know if there's a problem or not, right? And now the question is how far back should you go? And now like the way I recommend doing that is, I mean, obviously like you can take our placement exam, but like what the placement exam was designed to do was kind of to start at a very low level. You're like, well, do you understand this idea? Do you understand the counting? Can you give me 20 things? Can you do a little bit of addition? Can you do, right? Can we just keep jumping up? And like, where in this are you? So that they're not answering a lot of questions wrong, but we're finding what their level is at the same time. And so that's a tricky balance, especially if you're not an educator. But like, if you're going to get your hands dirty, you get them dirty. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, but that's the practical tip. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And it sounds like, because when you talked about, believing in them and having them, say that they believe they can, it sounds akin to the Pygmalion effect, right? Where teacher and parent outcomes determine student outcomes. So if they believe that the student will, then they're more likely to. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on, mathematically speaking, in these belief systems. Like if you look at the processes that's happening, they're designed to keep themselves in that belief system. The belief system itself is designing itself around perpetuating itself. So it's like, if I don't believe the student can do it, maybe I give them a problem that they can't do. Now I'm proving it right to myself, and I'm proving it right to them at the same time. And that's what I'm saying. That's problematic. The algorithm does not have that. It does not care. Right? Like, you didn't answer correctly, we're moving back down, right? But like the human being has that potential. And that's why it starts with like, I believe you can do it, and committing to them that I believe you can do it. Because once you've done that, right, like now your integrity is in play. Now your commitments, and you're like, I mean, it's your job at the end of the day if you're a teacher, you know what I mean? But like, I mean, a lot of this stems from the problem of 54% of Americans report having mathematics anxiety. And that anxiety, it wants to perpetuate, right? Like these emotions, they, again, somehow through the habits that get formed, are designed to perpetuate.
Yeah, and keep you in that comfort zone, and then the math avoidance and all the rest of it. Yes.
I mean, at some point, they just, well, I'm not a math person, right? Now I have, and if that's a valid excuse, right, and this is why you see the numbers work the way they do, maybe I'm not a social studies person. Maybe I'm not a gym person. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you can apply that almost anywhere, right? Until you find the type of person you actually are. But like, we're talking about elementary school. Like this is foundational stuff. Like third grade reading is like, well, you got to have a third grade readings, because then you can read and educate yourself, potentially speaking. Well, that's algebra for math, right? You can't necessarily continue reading to educate yourself unless you can play in algebra a little bit.
Right. Yeah, got it. Now, you mentioned, just I saw on your website about how breaking the poverty cycle, because I did not realize that students who do more math are better readers and writers and speakers. Like, that's a fascinating statistic. That's a fascinating correlation.
Well, that's what the data says, right? I mean, the reasoning I'm adding, right? Like, there's two ways that this works, right? Which is that one, like, as you're doing this math and you understand this stuff, right? Like, it's like doing mental gymnastics. It's just a little bit more. You have to hold 10 in your brain as you count to 10 to remember to stop on 10, right? This is brain exercises. But the integrity of the situation as well, right? Which is when you're allowed to say, I'm just not a math person, right? well, then yeah, so it could affect all the scores, right? That's what the data shows, and like these are the two potential reasons for it. Right? What else could it be? Maybe there's something else, but like, it's really on the surface, right? Like these two things will corrode everything else. But yeah, I mean, the link ends up being that fifth grade math scores predict eighth grade performance in math. Eighth grade math performance predicts whether you drop out of high school. Dropping out of high school, I think it was $400 billion in lifetime lost wages.
Wow.
That was a 2007 statistic, but it was a congressional budget, whatever, and like they're saying, hey, well, but we incur this every year from high school dropouts, right? It says every year hit to our economy or GDP or whatever. And so this is the deal, is that the high tech jobs, which even now like AI is kind of starting to eat at, these jobs, these were highly mathematical jobs, even if it wasn't like the analytical mathematics, but like, I mean, that's what AI is. It's very, very analytical, functional. Like they're dealing with sines and cosines and God knows what type of equations to make these learning algorithms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but like these are all mathematical positions. Physicists, they're all mathematical. So like the STEM careers, the business careers, that like they're very statistically driven now, right? And that ends up being then like the driver for income.
Yeah.
Word.
Yes. Yeah. So how can people access your system?
Well, that's easy. If you go to elephantlearning.com, you just put in your email there and it'll start the sign up. And then if you want to know more about the book, Treating Math Anxiety, it's $35 on Amazon. I think on Kindle it's much cheaper. So if you want the Kindle version, you do that. But Amazon's the best place to go. They got an Audible. I think more people do Audible now, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can listen wherever, whenever. Yeah, I like it as well. So awesome. So what would you like to leave our audience with today?
Well, don't give up. I mean, I think that there's several things that I've said here, like there's like, well, I know that everybody could do this, and I mean, there were pretty heavy reasons, but like, I think that if you don't believe, I mean, the thing is that like it doesn't really matter, because again, the things that we're talking about are foundational, right? Like if you put your child into piano or basketball, or like, you know, like they're trying to find the sport they like, but there's other sports, right? Or they're trying to find the instrument like they like, there's other instruments, but like English and mathematics, I mean, this is foundational to do all this other stuff. I mean, that's kind of the thing. And so like these are the things where you can't say, well, this is too hard, we're just going to give up.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And you've already told us where to find your book and your website. So I will just repeat that just to make sure, you know, our audience, elephantlearning.com, go there, get the information, sign up. I mean, and what is the cost for your system?
Well, so like it's $50 per student. That gives you 2 sessions with one of our math coaches per month, along with access to the system, where we guarantee that you're going to learn at least 1 year of math in 3 months. You get a placement exam report and, you know, all sorts of things. A family plan gives you up to 3 students for $90. So like you're saving money right away. And then we got packages on the website for 3, 6, 12 months. So, you know, if you want to stay, that's awesome. And then there are also scholarships. So like if this is too much, just message in and ask for like the link to apply for a scholarship, and they'll help you get one.
Awesome. So you're helping end poverty in many ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Dr. McGrath. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and it's been very informative. Like I said, wishing that you were around back then, because math has always been, I think it's probably too late to try to treat my math anxiety. So I've just let it go. No.
No, I mean, like, we have adults that say, I'm going to tackle this, and then they want to use our system. I mean, to be honest with you, the attention span is much larger for an adult. So
That's true. Okay, so it's never too late. I say that about so many other things, and then of course, when it comes to math, I'm just like, I've given up.
anxiety. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was self-admitted at the beginning. I'm not going to hold it against you.
Right. Thank you, sir. All righty. So thank you again for being here, audience. Thank you so much for watching or listening. And, elephantlearning.com. And see you again next time. Also catch us on E360 TV and Spotify or wherever you watch or listen to your favorite podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome, sir.